Alright, hello everybody. So first off, please excuse the quality of this as it's being shot on my cell phone, so there is no steady shot or anything. So what you're looking at here are, well, let's just preface it this way. This video is basically going to talk about my cameras and my history with cameras. So in terms of YouTube, through the years pretty much, up until about 2019, for the first year or so, my videos were shot on a series of different phones, whether it's an iPhone, a Galaxy, or a Moto. It was cell phones, as this video is now, with its stupid no steady shot. So this camera here, this is a Samsung S860. It's pink. This was Uncle Irv's camera, and it is the only camera I think I ever will own where I absolutely will not sell it because it was his. This camera I never really used for YouTube that much. 3.1 megapixels. I really don't have anything else to say about this camera other than that it just sucks. It takes good photos-ish. It takes double A's, which is funny. The video quality is absolutely awful. It shoots 4:3 non-HD video at about 360p. I think I've shot maybe 4 or 5 videos on this camera. Like, yeah, there's very few because I always just had a phone and I could just use that. But this was Irv's camera, and it's in the pile for the hell of it. But there's no batteries in it, so yeah, just that one. This was my first dedicated YouTube camera. I got it in 2019. This is a little Kodak ZE-1. It should have battery power. It does. There's no memory card in it. This is a very good little camera. It actually will shoot 1080p. It can take pictures. It can do 60 frames per second at 720. It's the thing for elevator filming. It is extremely small and easy to work with. The couple downsides it has the audio is not amazing. It tends to get very windy and blech when you're moving really fast with it. There is no steady shot. And the only other big gripe I have is that maybe we can even show it. The image quality is very, very narrow. The lens, like, it is extremely narrow shot. But I bought this camera used. I have the box and everything. It has a strap somewhere that's supposed to go in there. This thing has been a wonderful investment, and I loved it. So then we move to the next camera, which is not here. We get into my first professional actual camera, which was a Sony Handycam model HDR CX440. Bought it in 2020, sold it in 2020. I bought it used, and I'm fairly certain that the person who owned it before me kind of abused it a little bit because it had a lot of really weird small issues that Sony should just not be having. Honestly, I ended up selling it for this one, which we'll talk about, but it worked, but it wasn't amazing. But I shot a lot of videos on it. So in that time, I also owned two Canon PowerShot cameras, the SD1400 ISs, and I didn't use them for many videos either, but I just had them for photos because I like taking photos. I also had two different Canon PowerShot SD790 ISs, the little older version, kind of like that camera. They didn't even shoot HD, but I had them, and I shot a couple videos on them, very few videos. But they were never mains. Just like the TX5, it was never a main camera. But I bought the TX5 when I still had the other two PowerShots because I sold the PowerShots like 2 years ago, and I bought the TX5 in 2021. So this camera here, this has been my main camera for since June of 20, and it is a Canon Vixia HDR, I'm still in Sony language. It's an HF R800. This has been a very good camera. Anybody who's been following me it's going to say there's no memory card. Anyone who's followed me for any length of time will know about this. This was the direct replacement to the Handycam, and this camera is very nice. This is easily the nicest camera I've ever had. It was brand new in 2020, but it's not a super high-end camera. It's very basic in terms of features. Yeah, it has mic ports and a headphone port, and it has a touch screen. But other than that, and the fact that it can shoot 60 frames per second, 1080p, it really is not all that advanced. Manual lens cover, which is kind of a pain. The battery only lasts 2 hours, which you would think is fine, and I thought so, but it's short. And I have the original battery, and I've been working with it its whole time. And it also takes like 10 hours to charge. Oops, sorry. This is a good camera, though. I really like this camera. This is perfect size. My Handycam was like this. It didn't have a giant battery. So the reason I'm making this video is because basically I am contemplating... Also, yes, there's a mess in the background. I am contemplating finally parting ways with this, I think. The main reason, and the thing too, is that for those who are going to say, why would you do that? It's a great camera. Here's the thing. I bought this camera brand new in 2020. It is the only camera I have ever owned that was brand new. But here's the thing. I bought it from a discount store for a really, really, really low price. As in, a used one is worth about pay and a half of what I paid for this. In other words, you can buy a used one for more than I bought this one for new. And the reason why I'm saying that is because that means I can sell this for damn near, because here's the thing, you gotta realize this camera is mint. There is not a single thing, if you clean it up just a little bit, there is not a single thing wrong with this camera. Everything on it works perfectly. It's a little dirty, but it has never been scratched, dropped, abused. I have taken extremely good care of this camera because I knew one day I'd want to resell it. But the thing is, if I sell this for how much I paid for, which I'm not going to say in case I sell it, I can get a 4 or 5 year old camera that is really, really high end for the same price or even less. I have a camera model in my mind picked out that I think I'm going to go with if I replace this. The only hint I'm going to give is, if you're familiar with the elevator community, this series of camera is like synonymous with the elevator community. And no, I'm not getting a TX10 for my camera, at least my main. Because TX10 is a good camera, but it is not a Sony Cybershot, even though that's probably what everyone thought. But it is a model line that is synonymous, and this particular model is, God, I can count on probably 2 hands the number of filmers that have these cameras. And for good reason, they're good. Camcorder, obviously, which that's the other thing too. A lot of people have been saying, like, go to a point and shoot, go to a point and shoot, go to a point and shoot. I don't want one. I like point and shoots for photos. I take a lot of photos and point and shoots are great. But for videos, especially at home where size is not an issue, no. Absolutely no. No point and shoots. Also, because somebody's going to ask it, I will not entertain a DSLR. Even though a lot of people like DSLRs, for my type of activity, which is videos in public places where I try not to get noticed, a DSLR is a big fat no. It is giant, and they're mainly for photos. Now, if I was a professional photographer and I was taking professional photos all the time, hell yeah, I'd get a DSLR easily. I'd probably get a Canon Rebel. But for what I do, point and shoots are fine. This camera takes decent photos. Because the thing you got to realize too, honestly, is that I don't really care if my photos are not in HD for what I do. So, you know, and don't even, I was going to say it's not porn or whatever, but no, I don't, my photos can be in this quality for all I care. But that's just what I'm saying. So I think it's time. It's been almost 4 years, and it's been a good 4 years, but nothing lasts forever. And while I did kind of want to keep this camera until it eventually died, I'd almost rather not, because here's the other thing you got to realize too, is that I'm kind of blessed being the age that I am now when I started my channel, because here's the thing. Even if this was 10 years ago, 1080p at 30 frames per second 10 years ago was pretty much all the rage. Nowadays, you got up to 8K, 4K, whatever. But here's the thing. I don't really think we're going to advance beyond 8K or 16K, whatever. Because
you can get higher into the Ks, but in terms of like 1080p, 720p, we're kind of already there. So that means I can buy another camera that also shoots 1080p at 60 frames per second and be fine. Because that's a thing, is I do want a camera that can shoot 60 frames per second, because I do some videos that involve a lot of motion and moving parts, and I want to be able to capture that without it just, because you can see on this camera with it doing like that. So that was a must, but I don't need 4K. I'll never need 4K. So yeah, I'm making this video to talk about cameras, and very soon, possibly, we may replace the old Vixia. I'm going to sell it on eBay, so it's not like going to be one of the, I mean, if I was a real popular YouTuber, I could set up an eBay auction with no reserve for people who want to buy the camera. I mean, this camera is filmed in probably, 8 or 10 out of the 50 United States. But as much as I like it, and as much as it's been a good camera, I want to say what I want to say, but it's going to give it, because of what I said earlier, it's going to be a dead giveaway as to what I'm going to buy, so I can't. But yeah, I love this camera, but I think it's time. So making this just as a, a thing. This camera, honestly, I might sell, because here's the thing. I'm not really attached to it. This camera has an emotional attachment. This one I've had forever and filmed a zillion videos with. But this one, yes, it was my first YouTube camera, but at the same time, if it's worth $30 to someone who actually is like a Kodak collector or someone that just wants it, I don't know. I have the box and all the stuff with it, so I don't know. I might part with it too, but this one, no. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe and click like if you like what you see, and follow me on the web at isaac24.com. And I am so sorry about this terrible video quality. I promise it won't happen again. That's one advantage iPhones have. But yeah, that's it. So we may be piecing out with this guy soon, but we'll have to wait and see for that.